Right, looks like we're alive.
Good, you ready to go? Okay, sorry about the wait. Just don't know what's going on here, but it's really slow. It's taking a long time to get going here. Okay, we'll call the work session of April 12th to order. The clerk, please call the roll.
Sure. Councilmember Sheldon.
Here.
Karuba.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Eklund.
Here.
Graham Reinhardt.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
And President Doles.
Here, thank you. Was there any correspondence tonight?
I have one letter that I believe was already forwarded to the council, so we'll just read it into the record. City council members, I am writing this letter to you to give my view of food trucks in Jamestown and last year's pilot program. As you are aware, the restaurant industry has been rocked by COVID-19 and New York State regulations, with leaving some local restaurants unable to open. Some restaurants have closed or have laid off employees, but you are willing to allow food trucks to come into our downtown area, as in 2020, and compete with your brick and mortar restaurants. These restaurants pay local taxes and employ local people. Food trucks will negatively affect brick and mortar restaurants in all capacities. Under the pilot program, I believe the cost of these permits are extremely inexpensive. Compared to the national or just local regional averages, it is hundreds, if not thousands, below value. I'm curious as to why. It does not compare to the $6,000 of taxes I pay for my brick and mortar restaurant. I'm also very curious as to how there is any oversight on good business ethics with these food trucks, i.e. sales tax, paying employees off the books, health inspections. The distance of 125 feet from a brick and mortar seems to be a truly short distance for a fly-by-day competitor to pull up and reach potential customers. Again, the national and regional distances are typically double, if not further than that of a middle schooler's baseball throw, 40 yards. Signage and marketing distances allowed for the food trucks in this pilot program does not make sense. Why can they put up signs in front of brick and mortar restaurants? These are tactics used and seen. Oversight of the entire program is non-existent, I know firsthand. Studio D Catering operated within the 25-foot rule while GLE's was open and nothing was done. As a matter of fact, members of our local municipality that are tasked with enforcing these rules were dining there. Things that I have seen from the so-called food truck pilot program. Within the pilot rules, these trucks have a limit of time at a site and the food truck may not be parked there overnight. In the case of Studio D Catering, the trailer did not move for months. I've had patrons of GLE's tell me that there was lack of parking available due to the limited spots available. I understand that there were parking spots rented, but aren't the rules the rules? On a side note, I have tried to rent these non-rented available parking spots and currently cannot get a straight answer from the Jamestown City Clerk's Office, Jamestown DOD, or All Pro Parking as to why I cannot. I wonder why that is. During the stay of Studio D's Catering, an extension cord was running from 2 different buildings for power, causing my customers to have concerns of tripping over these wires. Along with the new extension cords, our city decided to bring flower planters and park benches to help decorate the new seasonal restaurant that popped up. Can you imagine watching your municipalities and city tax dollars go to a non-mobile food truck, undercutting your business with identical items from my restaurant's menu? Needless to say, I was stumped. The location of the Studio D trailer caused issues with my vendor deliveries. Besides the extension cords, people were seated just feet from the alley used by these semi-trucks and large box trucks. This stressed delivery times and vendor relations. Garbage cans had been left out overnight and unattended. These garbage cans belonged to Studio D Catering. The garbage from these cans found their way into the dumpster that GLE's code pays for. Again, broken rules and no oversight. While being downtown for the first year of this pilot program, I only saw one truck, Studio D Catering, which broke just about every rule in the pilot program. It is very evident that Mrs. Scott was given favorable rules and regulations to gain financial advancement with no oversight. This was a favorable advancement for one person while causing monetary harm to multiple businesses and families. I could almost understand if Studio D Catering is a restaurant, but it is not. The NAICS has restaurants and catering services classified differently. If it were, Studio D Catering would be paying different insurances, rent, health inspections, larger employee base, and overhead. So I wonder, can any brick and mortar business just start running a seasonal restaurant in a parking lot for $150? With the COVID-19 pandemic, we all know someone that has been working from home or businesses no longer needing storefronts. Downtown Jamestown has not gone unscathed by this. There are fewer people working downtown, which means fewer potential customers for your brick and mortar restaurants that are still open. The restaurant business runs on small dollars with a must in volume. Bringing in food trucks will not help our industry during these trying times and state restrictions. If you have ever opened a business, you would know there are processes in place to help you to ensure a wise investment. One being a business plan. Without a business plan, you look at within a business plan, you look at possible competitors, a means of possible client/customers along with hard costs. Food trucks are a variable not listed in this process. I am sure around 95% of restaurants did not foresee our city giving us up to food trucks. I understand it was a pilot program, but with the current inexpensive fees, shoddy rules and regulations, accompanied by little to no oversight and an unfair playing field, this program should be shut down. If there are any questions from this letter, I would enjoy speaking privately with any or all of the city council. Please feel free to contact me via email or phone. Regards, Anthony Cusimano, GLE's LLC.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is that the only one?
That was it, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, if there's no more, we'll move on to our reports from standing committees. Councilwoman Eklund, and Finance Committee Chair. Kim there?
I think you're muted, Kim.
Sorry. I have a resolution authorizing Chief Timothy M. Jackson to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the County of Chautauqua to accept grant funding from the Division of Criminal Justice Services for the purchase of live scan fingerprinting processing equipment, with the city being responsible for 25% of the funds, estimated at $7,000 and no $7,100 and no cents, as well as the cost of the maintenance, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. Any questions?
I just had a quick question for the chief. Is that for an actual new live scan printer? Is that what the whole instrument back in the jail?
Yes, it's currently outdated and needs to be upgraded in order to comply with the state.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I have a resolution authorizing the city controller to make the following amendment to the 2021 general fund budget for the purpose of matching 25% of the live scan fingerprint cost as follows. Increase appropriations, police department equipment, A.3120.0299, $7,100. Decrease appropriations contingency account, A.1990.0400, $7,100. Any questions or comments? Resolution number 3, I have a resolution authorizing the City of Jamestown Police Department to enter an agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated, 17800 North 85th Street, Scottsdale, Arizona, to purchase 63 body cameras at an annual cost of $70,119.99, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. Also note that the reoccurring annual cost will be for a term of 5 years. Chief, I don't know if you wanted to add anything or if anybody has any further questions. I see Mark's on here as well regarding this equipment and that we had the backup in our emails, but maybe just a general overview for the public.
Yeah, I can add to that. So we currently have body cameras that are 3 years old and that have been failing probably since over a year and a half ago. And some of them haven't been able to be replaced. And the ones that do need replaced take up to a few months to get replaced. And so right now, some officers have to share body cameras to have the ability to have a body camera. So we're proposing to replace every one of those, including detectives. And what that will do is the Axon body cameras will allow us to store our videos in the cloud via the evidence.com website, which will also give the district attorney access to those as long as we allow them access to it. And will improve the evidence tracking as well. So that's in a nutshell what it's about.
I have a question. Given that what you said about some of them not working, will this give you any extra so that you'll have, in case one's out of commission, you'll have a backup for someone to use in the event that their camera isn't working or there's a problem with it?
Yes, very good question. There will be 2 spare cameras, and the process of if one breaks, we send that one back, and within a week we get it back. But in the meantime, we could use the spares to provide to the officers.
Thanks. That was going to be my next question. How long would it take in terms of repairing or replacing if one's defective? Or, do you have any track record on other police departments using these and what their experience has been?
Yes, currently the county is using Axon body cameras, and they're fairly new to them as well, but they haven't experienced any problems, and they're just as happy with them as I think we would be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody have anything else?
Just to clarify, Chief, because I know you talked about this a lot as part of the police reform. How, and maybe Mark, I might have missed it, but when we talked about the price for body cams, this isn't like a whole new set. This is just kind of like adding to what you already have. Because I know there's been some problems with just having enough money to outfit the whole department. Is that you're just adding to what we have and trying to replace some old ones? Is that what I'm understanding?
This will actually replace the entire fleet of cameras for the reason that the company that we're using has a very difficult time of getting us cameras when they break. And a lot of times it's just a battery issue. So maybe a month without a camera. So this is replacing the entire fleet.
It just seemed like the price that you were telling us, Chief, when we were kind of having the conversation is a big difference. Like this is much cheaper. So I'm trying to figure out what I missed when we were having those conversations. So I thought they were like in the 6 figures to replace everything, but maybe is that what I was?
They are in the 6 figures because it's $70,000 a year. Maybe that's where the confusion is.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 5 years.
That was my,
Yeah.
okay. I guess I was thinking, yeah, you're right. Thank you for clarifying that.
Mhm.
That's my question. I mean, it's coming out of contingency this year. Will it be going into the general budget next year?
Yes, it would.
Or following years after that?
Yes, yeah, we would budget for it annually going forward.
And I know the chief and others have been looking for grants possibly to help pay for these. I guess they're few and far between at this point. Maybe something can come down the road and help us out.
We have been looking, but like you mentioned, we haven't been able to find anything for body cams.
Thank you.
Mark, does the
It cut out for a minute there. I'm sorry.
did the maintenance agreement or the yearly cost includes all the cloud storage?
Correct. Includes all cloud storage and replacement of defective or broken body cameras.
Do we actually own those devices, or are we essentially just leasing them?
No, we actually own them.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so resolution number 4 is authorizing the city controller to make the following amendment to the 2021 general fund budget for the purpose of purchasing police body cameras as follows. Increase appropriations $46,746.77. Police department equipment A.3120.0299. Decrease appropriations contingency account A.1990.0400 $46,746.77. Note that the amount charged to 2021 will be prorated for May through December. The remaining balance will be a 2022 expenditure. Any questions or comments?
So yeah, just one. So these will go live on May 1, or is that what we anticipate?
It will probably take up to a month to get them. So.
Okay. So
probably
more like June.
June 1st, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? I have a resolution authorizing the city of Jamestown to purchase VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery Service through CDW-G LLC, 200 North Milwaukee Avenue, Vernon Hills, Illinois, 60061, for the $12,669.39, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. And this is just a yearly fee, Mark, right?
Correct. This is an annual fee.
Yep. So this will be part of, as Brent discussed, part of the yearly maintenance contracts that'll be part of the police department budget going forward.
This would not be part of the police department. I'd be the IT department.
Okay,
Yes,
Is there any contract with that?
there is a contract. Yes, that
What's
is
the
through
length?
New York State contract through CDW.
Is there a length of time on it?
There's no definitive end of contract. We just keep renewing it, and once we stop renewing it, then it's over.
Thanks.
any other questions? Okay. Resolution number 6 is authorizing the city controller to make the following amendment to the 2021 general fund budget for the purpose of purchasing VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery Service as follows. Increased appropriations, $8,446.26, information technology maintenance agreements, 8.1680.0428. Decrease appropriations contingency account, 8,446.26. Contingency account, 8.1990.0400. The amount charged to 2021 will be prorated for May through December. The remaining balance will be a 2022 expenditure. So does everybody understand that the yearly contract is $12,669, but this year we are only paying $8,446 because it's May through June, or May through December? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Resolution number 7 is authorizing the mayor and Timothy Jackson, Police Chief Director of Public Safety, to enter into a purchase agreement with Dave Warren Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1001 Washington Street, Jamestown, New York, 14701, for one 2021 Dodge Durango in an amount not to exceed $33,363.00, subject to the approval of Corporation Council as to form. Note that this said vehicle is to replace a patrol vehicle that was totaled in an accident in 2020. Chief, anything you need to add there?
Just for clarification, we did receive about $11,000 from the total vehicle, so it won't come out to 33,000. It'll be less than that.
Tim, did that go to bid or is that on that contract, state contract?
It did go to bid and we received one bid.
Fair enough.
Other questions? Okay, resolution number 8 is suspending the hiring freeze instituted by resolution number 2002-01C03 and authorizing the filling of a following position due to the essential nature of the position. 1 police officer in the Jamestown Police Department. And also note that this position is vacant as a result of an anticipated retirement. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Would this be the first position that would be affected by the new hybrid insurance plan?
I believe this would be the second,
Oh, okay. All right.
yes, because we just hired Officer Frat last week.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that you posted that on Facebook too. That was nice, introducing the new officer.
Well, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, resolution number 9. Resolution authorizing the fire investigators Ryan Roush and Adam Aiken to attend the New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control Electrical Fire Investigation course as conducted by the New York State Academy of Fire Science located at 600 College Avenue, Montour Falls, New York, 14865, beginning April 7th, 2021, and concluding April 9th, 2021, with fees and expenses paid in an amount not to exceed $218. Any questions or comments? And resolution number 10, authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1 to the Spring Street parking ramp repairs contract with CPS Construction Group, 927 PA number 200, Cheswick, PA 15024, to include changes as follows. Add full traffic membrane replacement, 102,000 square feet at $2.10 per square foot for a total cost of $214,200. Full line stripping replacement, 102,000 square feet at 5 cents per square foot for a total cost of $5,100, for a total increase of both items of $219,300 and no cents, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. Questions or comments? I believe Ryan and the mayor probably have some things to just discuss in general regarding finance, some news that we've gotten recently. I don't know if you're planning on any updating everybody publicly.
Yes, Councilman Eklund, I will do it during the notes from the mayor in terms of the
Okay.
budget, unless Ryan has other things.
That sounds good.
Okay, that's it out of finance then.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we have anything for housing this evening, so we'll move on to public safety and Councilman Sheldon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the Board of Public Utilities to install 1 new LED L2 Cobra head fixture at the following location. BPU pole 25265 on Ivy Street. And this is in response to a request to Councilman Olson from constituents who live in an area who said it was a fairly dark area. Grant, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I had a couple of my constituents reach out. They live on the one-way part of Ivy there, and they just had some trouble with people walking past their cars. And one of the neighbors got, I don't want to say keyed, but got some, some scrapes down their car. So we reached out to BPU, and it is a large gap right there of no lighting. So, there were even some close calls of people coming fast off of foot onto that side road of Ivy there and almost rear-ending some cars and stuff. So I think the neighbors would be very appreciative of a light there.
Thank you, Grant. Any questions on that? All right. And the following 5 resolutions have already been discussed through through the Finance Committee. Resolution authorizing Chief Jackson to enter to a MOU with Chautauqua County for the live scan fingerprinting processing equipment. The next resolution is authorizing the City of Jamestown Police Department to enter an agreement with Axon Enterprises Incorporated to purchase the 63 new body cameras over a 5-year period. Hopefully these are going to be lasting at least 5 years, since the current ones have only lasted about 3 years. Next resolution is authorizing the mayor and Timothy Jackson, Police Chief Director of Public Safety, to enter a purchase agreement with Dave Warren to purchase a 2021 Dodge Durango to replace a patrol vehicle that was totaled in an accident last year. Next resolution is suspending the hiring freeze to fill one police officer vacancy in the Jamestown Police Department due to an anticipated retirement. And finally, the last resolution is authorizing fire investigators Ryan Roush and Adam Aiken to attend the New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control electrical fire investigation course in Montour Falls. Oh, that was last week. Okay. All right. And that's all I have at this point. Anything else for public safety? Thank you.
All set. Okay, we'll move on to Public Works and Councilman Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have the same, one of the same resolutions that was on finance, and that was to authorize the mayor to execute the change order number 1 to the Spring Street parking ramp repairs contract with CPS Construction. Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
As I put in the report, it was what we discussed last month. It just,
right,
the resolution was left out the additional work.
Okay. And then I have a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works to purchase construction materials and services at the prices quoted at the County of Chautauqua and set forth in the Chautauqua County 2021 Construction Season Purchasing Guide, which I think we do this every year, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yep. And then I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an easement agreement with Lynn Development, 1351 North Main Street, Jamestown, for a 30 by 30 foot area that is to be used by the city of Jamestown and the Department of Public Works for the proposed city entrance sign at the North Main Street corridor, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. Any idea what this will look like? It sounds like a great idea, and I'm glad Land Development is okay with us using that little chunk of land right there. But
right now, they're getting concept designs put together. We've had some preliminary ones, but it's almost confusing to look at those. Right, what we want to do is get this easement in place, get the Parks Department up there to take down. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 trees there. Dan, just nod your head, attaboy. Get those removed and kind of get a better visual of what it's going to look like, the facade for that. And then as we move along, we've been partnered up with a number of the civic groups, including the Rotary, and they're trying to put some money into it. So once we have a finalized plan to present, I'm sure it'll go before you and the Planning Commission. At this point, we're just trying to get the easements in place.
gotcha. Okay. Well, it'll look great. I think it'll really dress up.
It's huge. We've
the city.
been after this for many, many years, trying to site a sign, proper location.
Yeah, good idea.
What's the exact spot is that again?
I'm sorry?
What
Just
is
past the McMobile, I guess. It would be on that same side of the road, I assume, right?
Right on the city line.
Yeah.
The Lynn Development has an office building right past the city line.
It's a property that's for sale right now, isn't it?
I was gonna ask.
Right.
There's no issues if they sell it. We're okay. I mean, it'll transfer to any new owners.
It would transfer, yes. That's part of their idea of getting it
Get it done now.
getting it in place as soon as possible.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all there was for Public Works.
Okay, hang on. That's it. Oh, okay.
Just a couple of questions with regard to parks. Kim and I talked a little bit about a lot of the things that'll probably start opening up over the summer with regard to hopefully getting some summer youth athletics going on. I've been seeing things in the paper about festivals not coming and happening, and just where are we with, I know there was a question a couple of weeks ago about baseball and things like that. Can anybody tell us anything, or it's still a wait and see?
Actually just got done with a city softball league meeting tonight, Tamu, and met with Babe Ruth last week. We're looking at doing city rec signups next Monday at City Hall, and the Knights Travel Baseball League as well. I met with last week. So right now, fields are open for the kids to go out and practice. Looking at May 1st of all of them to actually start playing games and running the whole gamut from T-ball up to the 13-year-old leagues. And then when high school ball is done, then we'll have the older kids playing as well. Jones and Gifford will be hopping with the girls Babe Ruth softball, and Jay soccer, as far as I know, is just waiting to get permission from the school system to use their fields. Tonight, midget football started practicing. So we have south side up at Allen Park and west side over here at Bergman. North side, I believe, is still using Washington School, and they're only having one age group. So all their games are going to be played at Strider Field this year. So Travel Soccer has reached out to us to use the Allen Park fields as well. So everything's looking like we're moving ahead.
Dan, are you doing all this now, or have you filled that part-time rec position?
We've had some of the duties transferred over to Kelly Johnson at the DPW office. So between her, Matt Spadogel, our new park supervisor, we're all getting together and coming up with plans and moving forward.
And have you had to give any of these meetings that you've had with these organizations any type of parameters for safely doing things? Does the city have anything written up for how that's to be done, or are we going back to kind of, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, are we just being responsible? I'm so thrilled to know that this is all happening. I just want to make sure we can assure the public that all of the teams know how they're supposed to be, making sure everybody stays safe. So that information's been shared.
Yeah, actually, JCC had their first game Saturday with fans. So I spoke with the mayor and Jeff, and we had looked over some New York State guidelines that were sent out. And JCC was dictated guidelines from the state and from their college association on how to handle that. So what we did is we opened up one restroom there for them, and then they monitored the number of spectators they had and the social distancing and the masks. What we're encouraging everybody right now is to follow all local and state guidelines, be mindful of social distancing and wear masks. I know midget football had told me no parents at practices. And I'm sure the school system will limit the number of spectators they're allowed at Strider Field since the games are being there as well. So we're encouraging all the safety guidelines and looking to have them put those in place before we can have them being out on our fields and in our parks safely. As far as cleaning, we're still using the COVID chemical that we started using last April, which seems to be working out really well. We're spraying the playgrounds down with those. Restrooms are open at all the parks at this time. And as of right now, we have no plans to open or energize any of the drinking fountains.
Thank you.
Any other questions for new business or comments?
I can also tell you, Timu, it's been really well accepted. Everybody's just appreciative to be able to get out and to do something again. Tonight we had, I think, 12 people at our softball meeting. Everybody was wearing masks, and they're like, just tell us what we got to do. We just want to get out and be able to play again. So that's been the general consensus with everybody that I've spoken with.
That's good to hear, that people will do what they have to do in order to be able to help everybody turn the corner. So I'm very encouraged by that. That's good news.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have for new business?
I have a question from a constituent, and that was regarding the Memorial Day Parade. Has a decision been made on that?
As of right now, we're looking at having the Blue Star Mothers event still the Saturday before Memorial Day in the park itself. Probably be a smaller crowd than usual. And we'll look at building in some social distancing for them. You know, we won't have the tent full of benches as normal. Reserve that for certain people and then probably space out benches throughout the park. The ceremony event that happens on Monday following the parade, I'm being told, is invite only at this point. And we're not looking to have a parade this year. After speaking with Eddie and Jeff both on it, we don't know of any municipality right now, at least in Western New York, that is planning to have parades yet. So we're not looking at doing that. I spoke with a member of the municipal band last week as well, asking about being able to do stuff at the band shell. The church that they practice at has allowed them to look at practicing there. The concern that members that have of the band are the reed instruments. If everybody was playing guitar and drums, it'd probably be a little bit easier, but with having to blow the horns and everything like that, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So right now that's on hold as well.
Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, for the public's sake, the Memorial Day Parade, actually, the veterans are the ones that initiate that. They're the ones that organize it. The city just we give them permission, obviously the permit to use the streets. But again, they do that in conjunction with us. So it sounds like there'll be probably no parade and an invite only for a ceremony.
Yeah, and that's who I've been talking with, Tony, is the Veterans Commission, their council that makes that decision. And that's what they had told me was the ceremony on Monday, invite only and no parade.
Okay, thank you. Good to clarify that. Any other questions or comments for new business before I turn it over to the mayor? I just had one item that I wanted to bring forth. I wanted to know and get people's take on moving back to City Hall for next week and beyond. As you know, the Department of Development has been moved to the 4th floor. The 3rd floor where they were at has been pretty much emptied out. There's a large area, a large room in there that has been repainted and set up. We could have meetings there like we did before in the fall. We met in the lobby. The problem in the lobby, as you know, was the echo. It was so large and so echoey. It was very difficult for us to be heard in there. I did tour the room last week with the mayor, and I don't know, Eddie, you can jump in. I don't know if that was part of your message, but I just wanted to get people's input on that. The room is large enough where we could be 6 feet apart with masks and be in person. Obviously, there's still no public, but it would just be us and department heads. So I don't know how people feel about that at this particular point. I would like to get back there if there's a comfort level to do that, or there's a wish to do that. It would still be live streamed for the public, but it would just be, much more convenient and easier for us to have, give and take and have our business in person again. So I don't know if anybody wants to chime in now, or you want to send an email, or a message, and we can talk about it individually and then make a decision by the end of the week. So,
I can tell you one thing, President Doltz, that right now our numbers are going up in the county again. Number 2, I don't sit on one board yet that's agreed to have in-person meetings. That includes the college. It includes smaller boards like the Fenton. It includes a resource center. Not one of them has agreed to have in-person meetings again yet because of the concern. We're coming right off of spring break. We don't know how many people have traveled, where they've gone, and what our numbers are going to look like. So I, for one, am a little bit concerned, and it's also the ventilation. Right now, it's not surfaces, but ventilation and how well the building has air transfer in and out. And I don't know that I've ever talked to Jeff. I know we've had to change heating and air because that was no longer the way we were doing it. I don't know what the installation and air exchange is like, because that's really the predominant problem now is air exchange. And the faster the air exchange, the less likelihood of transmission of COVID. So I don't know. Those are my concerns. Can you answer anything, Jeff, about the air exchanger and the quality of air in the building?
I mean, we meet the air exchange requirements pre-COVID. I can't give you an exact answer as far as what the COVID recommendations are, I guess.
Jeff, I can answer that. We actually had to certify to the court system that we meet the requirements for air circulation. I don't remember exactly the MERV requirement, that is the air filtration system used, but we did have to certify that to the unified court system, as they had required a higher level of filtration in the air circulation.
But is that just in the court area, or is that the whole building?
Whole building.
Yep. Building wide.
Okay, well, let's just, rather than have a great debate on it, I'll be in touch with people over the week and we'll make a decision by week's end and we'll handle it from there. If people don't feel comfortable yet, I know that on boards and commissions that I've been on, there's been kind of a mix. I've met in person on some, and I know some people are working from home, but some of us are in contact all day long with people, and obviously with social distancing and masks. So I'm just trying to, I don't know how long we're going to be doing this for, and just trying to see what people's comfort level is. So I'll reach out, and if people want to message or call me, that's fine. And I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. Just trying to get things moving forward. That's all. Okay. If nothing else, Mayor, it's up, your turn.
Thank you, President Dulce. Just one other thing on meeting in person for next week's work session. I believe I've spoken to or messaged all of the council members about the appointment of Regina Brackman to Ward 3. I wanted to just take your temperature, or President Dulce, if you want to do it later, to have a special voting session for the next work session to allow a vote on Ms. Brackman, so that she's not voted. And if she is voted up, let's say at the voting session, now she has to vote on all of the things that she's not yet gone through and learned about. So I wanted to propose calling a special voting session for the purposes of the appointment vote for the next work session.
Do you want to do it after the work session or before?
Prefer before.
Okay.
Then she can participate. If she is voted and confirmed from you all, then she has the ability to participate in that session.
I would suggest that what will we need, an extra 10, 15 minutes? Not even, but.
Not even. Yeah.
We could do it right at 7 and then just go right into our meeting. Does that sound good? We'll have a special voting session at 7 p.m. and then immediately after that, go right into our work session with our normal business next Monday. Okay.
Sounds good.
Then I will circulate the special meeting notice for you all. So don't be surprised if you get it in the mail, which is all running slow anyways. So you might get it weeks later. Who knows? Anyways, so some comments just to provide to the council for this week. As Councilmember Eklund had pointed out earlier, we've gotten some really great news from the state. We are excited to share with you. So I wanted to provide you all with a brief update on the New York State budget that recently passed, which will impact the bottom line for the city of Jamestown. First and foremost, under the new state budget, we had originally budgeted here internally for a 20% cut in aid to municipalities, or AIM payments, and we will now receive the full amount instead of the 20% withholding, which we originally expected. So that is a significant increase to the budget for us. In addition, we've been notified that the state had prior withheld 5% of last year's AIM payment. We will now be receiving that back to the budget. So we're very excited to get the full state funding back after the state has been made whole from the federal government. In addition, something really new this year is our CHIPS funding. As you know, we've had the same CHIPS funding since the 80s. It has not changed. It has not gone up to maintain the state roadways. As of this year, the budget did include a 23% increase into CHIPS funding. CHIPS funding is funding we use to repair our roads, and we are then reimbursed by the state. I am still waiting on a final number of what our CHIPS amount will be, but we're excited to see the additional funding being added to the CHIPS reimbursement for roads this coming year. We're also seeing an extreme winter recovery. So fingers crossed, if we don't have, let's say fingers crossed that we have a fine winter, but if we don't, there is extreme winter recovery funding. So for larger storms that require more person power and more vehicles and whatnot, we can seek reimbursement for that in this funding year. Just a couple other items to note from the state budget. The state did put in a police reform monitor for any municipality that has been non-compliant with its police reform initiative. About over 90% of the municipalities with police forces did submit a plan. There are some here in Western New York that did not, but we are compliant with that, and so we won't have to deal anything in that case. However, the state is also getting ready to provide new hiring standards for police officers. We are awaiting additional information from the state. They want to have enhanced background checks and other certifications prior to a police officer coming to a uniform division. And excited to announce that there's going to be another round of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, another $100 million that cities can compete and apply for. And the Regional Economic Development Council, which sponsors a whole bunch of projects across the state. We are in the Western New York region. Overall, statewide, there's going to be $170 million distributed to those economic development councils, of which the city of Jamestown maintains a seat on. And we're hoping to be able to submit projects for economic development funding going into this year. I do want to note, we'd all hoped that there was going to be an early retirement incentive included for municipalities to allow our employees an early retirement through the state system. That was only allowed for New York City, and so there is no early retirement provision being allowed, at least state-sponsored, for other municipalities. Any questions on the budget? Definitely good news. I see Councilmember Eklund's happy about the additional money we're going to get, and I'm very excited about that too.
I had a question, Mayor Sunquist. Any chance that when we had those serious wind events where we had all the tree limbs, the additional BPU man hours, anything recoverable from that winter weather issue? I don't know what the criteria were.
I don't believe so. I'll see. Jeff, did you hear anything about that? But I didn't think it was going to be covered.
I got to correct you in one thing, Mayor. The extreme winter recovery program, that is actually road money.
Oh,
it's very similar to CHIPS money. It can't be used on emergencies or plowing, or that's a different ballpark. And no, I have not heard anything on the wind damage, any FEMA money out there yet.
So
that would have to be something the governor would apply for or request from FEMA.
Jeff, I had a hard time you saying, so it's just road repairs? Is that what it was?
Right. It piggybacks on the CHIPS. There's two different programs, extreme winter recovery, and then also the Paved New York. But it's all highway money. I just got the numbers in today. This afternoon, I'll pass those along to everybody. I could read them off for you if you want. We've got CHIPS money. City of Jamestown got $1,102,240. which is up 24% from what we had before. The paved New York, we're getting $304,495, which is up 50%. And the extreme winter recovery, we are getting 212,918. Again, that's up 53%. So it's good news for our streets.
Jeff, could that include anything with storm drains, which do deteriorate because of the salting and everything else?
It goes right into our street reconstruction. So yes, storm drains can be included in that.
Then I guess I'll need to talk to you about one that's really, it's collapsing on the corner of Norton and McDaniel. No, Norton and Chadwick.
Okay.
It is, you can see the rebar or the metal coming and it's really getting pretty bad. And I wonder if you can get funding for that replacement, but it's crumbling and it does not look good.
We'll take a look at it tomorrow.
Thanks.
On that same vein, we are looking at the summer projects, the summer construction projects. So we hope to meet with Councilmember Nelson and the Public Works crew to go through those projects as we start to whittle down the list.
We might want to consider putting back on summer help for the Department of Public Works since we have all this extra funding.
So Eddie, just out of curiosity, I'm hearing about all these different pieces and pots of money that have either are grant funded or we have to apply for. Is there like a collective or is there a list of like a to-do list of things to apply for this money for, to use this money for? I know that, I heard CHIPS with the roads and stuff, but some of the stuff is kind of all overlapping in my head as to where this money is going to be allocated and used. And are you working with the Department of Development? Are you working with all your staff? Is there any kind of conversation about prioritizing what we need, what we feel like we need to do, or recommendations about prioritizing what we need to do with regard to all of this money we could possibly access?
Sure thing, Councilmember Graham Reinhardt. So a couple things. Number one, these are all pots of money that we have accessed in the past. So our department heads are very familiar in accessing those funds. Many of those are reimbursable expenses. So for our street reconstruction, we often have to expend those funds and then apply for the reimbursement. So that's a little bit tricky, but for all of those pots of money, the state aid, it comes automatically through deposits. The rest of the things are mostly reimbursed projects and programs that all of our department heads regularly do each and every year. The only large pot of money that we're looking to deal with will be the federal funding that we'll receive under the American Rescue Plan. We are still awaiting Treasury guidance on how that can be used, although we know that it has to be, the guidance needs to be before May 11th, I believe, somewhere early May, as that's when the first payment is going to be due to cities and other municipalities. But for the most part, all the other programs are done through our department heads, buckets of money that they typically go and apply for each and every year.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Other questions on the state budget? All right, turning to a more recreational topic, I'd like to talk about cannabis, also legislation that has passed in New York State. I just wanted to provide the council with some information in regards to the cannabis or marijuana legislation that was recently passed in New York State. I'm really only talking about the dispensary and recreational usage in particular. Many of you know there is some state regulations already on the usage, being able to use and possess marijuana that is now allowed up to a certain amount. But when we talk about cities and how the use of cannabis will impact the city, under the new legislation, cities have the ability to opt out by passing a local law. So opting out of any type of dispensary or on-site consumption establishment. That opt-out legislation would need to be passed by local law by the end of this year, so December 31st, 2021. and would automatically go for a public vote with what's called a permissive referendum if you choose to opt out. Otherwise, the city would automatically allow dispensaries and on-site consumption establishments. However, the city has the ability to regulate the time, the place, and the manner. And in many cases, this all falls under zoning requirements. So if you have an established, it has to be within an allowable zoning, as well as providing you can provide additional ordinances on time, place, and manner of use. You cannot have dispensaries or other on-site establishments so many feet from a school or a house of worship. So that does limit locations that those can go. In addition, any dispensary or on-site consumption establishment must notify the municipality. So we will be notified before any of those are open to ensure they comply with any type of regulations or zoning requirements. And the other thing I will note is that the state has imposed or will impose a 13% tax on the sale of cannabis. Of that 13%, 9% will go to the state, 3% will go to the municipality, and 1% will go to the county. That is to ensure that the municipality has the funding to police and regulate the use of cannabis in their district. Other than that, I know we've had a lot of folks have started to reach out, ask some questions. We don't have any of the regulations as of yet. Under the law, under the legislation, the Office of Cannabis Management will be created, and it will have a board that will create the regulations that dispensaries or on-site consumption establishments need to follow in order to effectively serve or sell cannabis products at that location. So with that, update for the council. Is there any questions that you all have on the cannabis legislation? I'll try to answer it best I can. Not an expert.
I have one, Mayor Sunquist. Is there any restriction in terms of alcohol sales and cannabis sales in the same location? Or, I know there are restrictions between houses of worship and schools, but what about places that sell alcohol?
Councilmember Kruba, I'm unsure if that's going to be the case. I'm going to guess that's going to be put into regulations once they're created and promulgated. I am unsure if the law has specifically included that language. I can double check for you and get back to you on it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And I guess I have one other question if nobody does. Have you had inquiries yet from people interested in opening dispensaries? Or have you received through your office complaints about or opposition to this being done?
I have received multiple folks that have reached out, mostly pharmacies that are interested in becoming dispensaries. And I have received one complaint so far, but it was asking us to support New York State not legalizing it. So unfortunately, that was kind of after the fact that they'd already legalized it. So other than that, I've not received any other public complaints on the use of cannabis.
Eddie, just a quick question. The dispensary, it's my understanding that this whole thing wouldn't start till sometime next year. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. So we're not looking at any type of dispensaries until well into next year. The state is still allowing any municipality to opt out, and that's got to be done before the end of this year. And they anticipate regulations won't really be finalized until the end of this year to start it up.
Well, if it's anything like what's happening in other states, it's not a small player game. You've got to have a lot of money for bonding, insurance, and everything else in terms of it's a very high stakes, high money business. You've got to have a lot of investors. It's not going to be your average individual that could just decide to open up a dispensary. It's going to be highly regulated, and it's going to take a lot of money to establish, just like it did with the medical marijuana. It was very highly regulated and a lot of money to be invested in order to do it.
I do have a question for Chief Jackson regarding the cannabis law. Have there been any policy changes made yet with regards to Jamestown Police Department, or are they still in the process?
Councilman Sheldon, are you asking regarding internally or dealing with civilians?
Dealing with civilians, specifically like the not being able to search vehicle because of the odor of marijuana smoke?
That's correct. Our biggest concern is whether or not someone is operating a vehicle under the influence, meaning they've smoked marijuana. Currently, that's our biggest concern. But you cannot search a vehicle based strictly off the smell of marijuana at this time.
And currently, there is no breathalyzer or similar method to determine if somebody's been consuming marijuana while they're driving?
There is. We have drug recognition experts, a DRE that goes through specific training, quite extensive training, and they can ascertain whether or not somebody is driving under the influence of a narcotic or marijuana.
How many DREs do we have currently?
Currently one, and we are looking to send one more.
Yeah, that was a concern that there would have to be a lot more police officers have that training.
Yes, it's very lengthy training, and the officer also has to go to Florida, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they do have to go to Florida for I'm not sure the length of time to do the practical, where they process incoming people and prove that they can ascertain whether or not somebody's under the influence.
Hopefully the state will help us out with that and maybe have more training a little more locally too. Thank you.
Just a quick question. If a municipality opts out and does not participate, how does that affect, I know it affects obviously the ability to sell it and have dispensaries. How does that affect the enforcement of it or the use of it in that particular municipality? Does that change the laws or rules within the municipality other than the sale of it? Do we know the answer to that?
Yes, President Dulce. It would only be for opting out of the sale, so the dispensary or on-site consumption establishment. So it would no longer be allowed. The law itself already allows the possession and of marijuana, the use of marijuana in certain areas similar to cigarettes, and that also allows small amounts of marijuana plants already. We can't opt out of that. That's already written into the law. So the opt out would only go to.
I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. So really the only decision, we can do nothing, which means then we're in. Or if by the end of the year, the council decided to opt out, the only thing we'd be opting out of is allowing people to sell it here and then getting a piece of that income.
You're right, President Dulce. And the one thing that I can see, as much as people are not happy with the legislation, there are a lot of people that are eliminated from employment on the basis of testing positive for cannabis, and that can stay in your system for a very long time. It stays in your hair as it grows out. So people are prevented from being employed in certain positions because of that, even though they may be a very low-level user. So there may be some advantage because people that are not able to be employed may be able to be employed now on the basis if they're just a very small user. And it's not saying I'm not a proponent, I don't use it, but for those people that, for some, it relieves anxiety, and people with post-traumatic stress and certain medical conditions, including seizures, can be very helpful. Medical marijuana is very, very expensive, and a lot of people cannot afford it. CBD oils do some good and some help, but this may help those individuals who may need that, and probably it's less addictive than other things like opiates, which seem to be a much bigger concern in the community. So I don't know. I guess I'm trying to keep an open mind that the other people that know a lot better than I do have evaluated this and assessed it and determined that with monitoring, this can be possible to exist in a community without doing more harm than good. So.
I had a quick question for the chief. Tony, were you saying something?
That's all right, go ahead.
And I stepped on you.
That's okay.
I just had a quick question for the chief. When you say that it's no longer probable cause to search a vehicle based on the smell of marijuana, are you referring to fresh marijuana, or are you talking about open burning of marijuana, or both? If there's the smell of open burning of marijuana in a vehicle, is that still probable cause to search the vehicle, or are you just talking about raw marijuana?
The open burning is what I'm talking about.
So that's no longer probable cause for a vehicle search, the open burning along with raw marijuana smell.
Correct. It cannot be strictly based on that. If there are other factors involved, of course, that can be taken into account. It's the totality of everything, but based strictly on that is not reasonable to search a vehicle.
So are you saying that it is now legal in New York State to be openly burning and smoking marijuana in a vehicle?
No. No, you still cannot do that. You cannot smoke marijuana in a vehicle, just like you cannot drive or operate a vehicle with an open beer or alcoholic beverage.
So if you stopped a vehicle and someone was openly smoking and marijuana in a vehicle, that even though it's not legal, that's still not probable cause to search that vehicle?
Well, you could get into whether the person is able to drive the vehicle, and that's a whole different story, because you could make an assessment as to whether or not they're able to drive that vehicle, and then if that's the case, then we go down a whole different bunch of roads.
Sure.
There.
I asked this question because
just like if you pull somebody over and they're actively drinking an alcoholic beverage, that's going to up your probable cause, your suspicion. If that makes sense.
The difference is currently, if you were pulled over in a vehicle right now and the officer smelled alcohol, is that not probable cause for intoxication? Yes. Right. So it is a little bit different, which kind of surprises me that, you know.
Chief Jackson.
I raised that question.
Go ahead.
I raised that question because I just raised that question because I had someone under the impression that it was now legal to open burn marijuana in a vehicle with this new legislation. That's why I raised that question.
Thank you. Not to my knowledge, it's not. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I don't believe it's legal to do that.
Okay.
Chief Jackson, in terms of, do they do a similar field sobriety test with drugs like they would do with alcohol? And the other one is, the only way to absolutely determine if you're driving while ability is impaired is to do a blood test?
They do several tests, but they do start with your field sobriety tests that you would give if somebody has been drinking an alcoholic beverage. They all start with that, but they do a whole bunch of other tests that are, I can't comment on those because I don't know them, but I know there's several tests they do.
Okay, and that would be regardless of whether they suspected them being under the influence of drugs. Or it could be even prescription drugs. It's just that the person may not be capable of driving or isn't supposed to drive, but they drive regardless with prescription medications that are not appropriate to be driving. Okay.
That's correct. Yep.
Chief, is our dog trained to sniff out marijuana?
Yes.
So do we have to now get rid of that dog?
No.
That's what I've been reading online, is that you can't untrain them, so to say.
Hope is not trained on anything, our comfort dog.
No, not the comfort dog.
No. But no, we're not going to get rid of Cal, our patrol tracking dog. He can do other things too.
Okay. I read an article that said that a lot of these departments, obviously moving forward, you don't train for it, but there were some issues about, especially now with this law being in place where you can't go off the smell. It could cause some issues, but
Yeah, there are a lot of concerns. There are.
This is probably a premature question, but I know Senator Borrello was kind of upset. Is there funding or extra funding for more DREs in the state? I think he had made some comments that he was upset with the legislation because there was not funding for more DREs. Can anyone expand upon that?
Councilman Russell, we just completed a resolution today to send one of our officers to DRE school. It's fully paid for. So I can't comment if there's additional funding, but I do know that the one that we were previously approved for that was put off because of COVID is completely paid for.
Okay, excellent.
I can answer that briefly, Council Member Russell. The purpose of the sales tax, 9% of which is going to the state, is meant to be earmarked for additional training and as well as grants, and to address issues in disparate treatment in minority communities, as well as a couple other things. So we are hearing that the state will be providing some additional funding for that training for police forces with that 9% sales tax. Still a ways away, but most of it is still untested, and a lot of it hasn't gone through the courts because the courts are backlogged. So it's all a wait and see approach at this point until the courts test it out and opine on how these things are going to go down.
Thank you.
Good. Could I ask one question about this real quick? I assume that in our parks, openly smoking marijuana would not be allowed, as tobacco is not. How about the Riverwalk?
The park.
Parks?
Park.
Okay. And I assume it would fall under the time, place, and manner regulations that we could put in place too.
That is correct.
Say no smoking. We don't say what.
Good.
That's right.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, I just have a few more things and then we'll get on our way. I wanted to update you all on the parking meters. We had the e-meters or the smart meters. We have deployed the set of meters around the city. They do now accept both credit card and coins, so you can use either for payment. We are going to be working with Jeff and his team to record some videos and do essays on how do you use the new meters. They are fairly easy to use. I think I've heard from some of the council members who tried them out. And we are still working on deployment of a citywide application for the payment of parking. I do want to let you all know that when we went to the final configuration, we are unable to charge back to the card user the fees for the use of the credit card. There was no way for us to set that up given the back end that the parking meters use. However, we have negotiated a really favorable fee. So as folks use the credit card swipes, we are only paying about 10 to 12 cents per credit card swipe, which is a lot lower than we anticipated. We are working on placing an order or getting ready to place an order to convert the remaining meters so that we can have the same type of meters across the city. So far, we've been able to track utilization. They are being used pretty regularly and frequently. And so these smart meters, because of that, we're able to actually see the usage and get data across the entire city. So as we get some more data, we'll be encouraged to provide you all as council members some information on utilizations, how long folks are parking, how much they're putting in the meters, and things like that. So we'll have a little bit better data as we go through this process and replace all the rest of the meters. Any questions on that?
And I used it and they work very well. And it's nice to see you can actually read the meter and that it actually registers the money. Do they flash 24 hours a day? That was one question. They have a blinking, like a flashing red symbol on them. Do they blink all the time? I don't know. They have like a red bar with like 4 or 5 lights and they blink on and off the whole time. I don't know.
I don't have an answer to that, but I will,
I'm just curious because somebody made a comment as we were driving, do those do that all the time? And I said, I don't know, but the arrows do let you know which direction to make sure you put the money in the right meter. And I guess you actually, if you're in the middle, you can do the left or the right meter. So yeah, they worked very well. I was impressed with, and I use coins, no credit card.
okay.
Is that all done wirelessly, Eddie, or do you have to like sync up with each meter?
Each meter has a cellular connection. So
Oh,
we
all right.
do pay a fee for the use of those meters. It creates a server connection that provides us data.
Nice. That'll be interesting to see once, especially after COVID, where people are parking, how long they're parking. And obviously that might help us with some of our parking fees down the road as well.
We do love some data.
Yeah, and I'm curious, you just mentioned that we pay a fee. Eddie, can you put together what the actual overall final cost of this was, including the expense per swipe and that stuff that we don't have for us?
Yes, we can. And I think, Ryan, I don't know if we've put that together yet. A lot of those things we found out at the last minute when we were installing, so we'll put it together for you all.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay. The only other thing I wanted to mention to you all, some good news, and I'm happy to have Matt Kuhn mention it if you'd like to. The deputy fire chief over here, along with his staff, went all the way to the backwoods of Pennsylvania. Is that right, Matt? To pick up a new fire truck that you all bonded for a while back, and drove it back. I don't know if he got a speeding ticket. There's rumors, but Matt, if you want to talk about the new fire truck briefly.
Certainly. So the resolution that you all approved last year for 2 new pumpers, both pumpers have been delivered safely and without a scratch. Myself, along with the truck committee that was involved with specking out the fire trucks, we traveled down to 4 guys in Myersdale, Pennsylvania last Monday. They had a few last minute tweaks and some equipment mounting that they did for us, and then we brought them back Tuesday afternoon. The truck that's going to be replacing engine 3 is currently at City Hall. All of you are cordially invited to stop by at your leisure to check it out. Fire department members or myself will be more than happy to give you a tour of the vehicles or a ride in them if you wish to do that. The truck that's going to be replacing engine 4 is currently being housed at Station 4. That was just more of a matter of space for both vehicles. We had to get them both inside. And the members now are going to start to put the new engine 4 together first. So the trucks are very nice. It's been an overwhelmingly positive response from the members. They're very excited to have 2 new pieces of brand new firefighting equipment. And they'll be replacing equipment that's 20 to 30 years old. So we're very happy to have those. And we look forward to using them in the future and getting them outfitted. Usually takes a couple months for us to get all the tools and everything mounted up and the hose on them. So we'll be looking forward to doing some pictures and hopefully spreading the word around after everybody has a chance to look them over.
And we will be working with Matt and his team to do a small celebration, of which we'll invite the council to officially christen the new fire trucks. We're very excited about that. It's not often we get new ones, so we want to have at least a small celebration, as Matt said, to get some photos and to welcome you all as council members and some of the community to see those new pieces of equipment.
And I want to thank Matt for giving me the tour and the ride on Friday. It was very comfy, very good.
What, you got a ride? I want a ride.
I did get a ride. Yes, I did.
I'm coming down for a ride.
I want to ride too.
You got it. Come on down. You got it. First spin.
All right, I'll be emailing you, Matt. Don't worry.
No problem. I'll be waiting.
Congratulations. Chet Harvey was still working there when the issue of the fire trucks replacement. So I'm happy to see that it's finally happened because it seems like a long time ago. And I know it took a long time to get them delivered. So congratulations.
Thank you. And I will spread that along to the rest of the team and the membership as well.
Great. And the new colors, by the way, are red and black. They're quite slick. So a little bit different than normal. So we're excited to see those. I do have a couple items for executive session. I have a labor union agreement. I have a matter of a current litigation, and then I have a personnel matter as well.
We have three.
3, yes, that is correct. Hey, yep.
All right, so I think that's all of our business for tonight. Remember, next week we'll have the special voting session to vote on the new Ward 3 council person. And then we'll go on to our regular business. And in the meantime, if you let me know how you feel about when and if you like to meet in person, we'll make a decision by week's end on that. So with that, we have 3 items for executive session, 1 under contract, 1 under current litigation, and 1 under personnel. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved, Councilwoman Karuba.
A second?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are in executive session. We'll give the mayor a minute to shut the stream off.
President Doles, just to mention for the record, there will be no action taken during the executive session. And I do need to have, if I could please, Deputy Fire Chief Kuhn, Corporation Counsel Raimondo, and we also will be having our attorney, Kristen Mackler, join us as well. And anyone else, Elliot, that we need?
No.
Ryan, excuse me, Comptroller Thompson. He tried to get away real quick. I saw him trying to press that end meeting button. Wasn't quick enough. That should be it. I'll stop recording in a minute.
Yeah,